Are you constantly feeling like you're running on a hamster wheel, but your nonprofit really isn't getting anywhere? Well, you are not alone. In today's edition of Balance Bites, we're going to be covering the three productivity myths that could be killing your nonprofit's potential, and of course, how to fix them. Listen, many nonprofit professionals struggle with burnout, limited resources, and really high expectations. And honestly, many of these struggles tend to be amplified by clinging to or holding on to some of these outdated productivity myths. So, inside today's video, we're going to expose what these myths are, and I'm going to share with you some practical solutions on how you can achieve true sustainable productivity. Now, the first one is multitasking, right? A lot of people believe that multitasking is the key to being successful or the key to getting things done and being productive. However, multitasking actually hinders your ability to focus. It increases the number of errors that you make. And honestly, it reduces your overall efficiency. There are tons of studies that have found this to be true, that it actually takes you more time to accomplish the tasks that you are going back and forth between than if you would take the time to focus on one. And if you are buying into this myth that you need to multitask, that can lead the you and the members of your team to be scattered in the efforts that they are doing. It can cause you to end up missing deadlines and actually end up creating situations where your donors or your stakeholders are dissatisfied with the impact of the organization as a whole. And we all know that you can't afford to have your donors and your stakeholders to be dissatisfied. You want to make sure that you're doing everything to ensure that they are happy with the investment that they've made into your organization. So instead of multitasking, I want to encourage you to get in the habit of doing deep work or single tasking, right? This is where you take the time to identify one task that you are going to pour all of your focus and attention to for a specific time or till you bring it to completion, right? Time blocking, right? That's all it is. It's time blocking. You select a specific time on your schedule where you are going to focus on that one task or that one group of tasks that are, maybe they're similar in nature. You can use the Pomodoro technique, which is one of my favorite productivity tools for being able to focus and get things done. The Pomodoro method is where whatever your time block is, let's say you're doing a 90-minute deep work time block, you'll set your timer for 25 minutes, work on whatever the task is that you've identified for 25 minutes. Once that timer goes off, you take a 5-minute break and then come right back to it. You set the timer again, and you do that for your entire time block. Now, after you've done 4 cycles of this, so after you've done 2 full hours, you need to take a longer break than just 5 minutes. Now, you don't have to do 25 minutes. That's what the method calls for. But if you find that your cycle is more like 45 minutes, so you need a break after 45 minutes, you set the timer for whatever time frame it is that works for you. And maybe you need to adjust it. Maybe you need to play with the timing of that. But the Pomodoro method is a really great way to help you to minimize those distractions and really be focused in on whatever the task is that you need to do. Also, put some things in place to help you minimize distractions, like closing out your email, closing your office door, turning off your notifications, or putting your phone on do not disturb. Whatever it is that you need to do so that you can really zone into the task at hand. Myth number 2 is that longer hours equal more productivity. Great. And honestly, there is this concept or this law of diminishing returns. You probably have heard of this before, but if you haven't, I'll give you a brief overview of what it means. Is when you have something in there, when you have something in a particular amount, that the more you have of it, at some point you're going to tip the scales to where it's no longer benefiting you, right? Where the satisfaction is not there. So when you bring that concept into productivity or working a longer period of time, once you work beyond a certain point, that ends up kind of tipping to the point where you start to experience some fatigue, where you have decreased creativity, and ultimately could lead to burnout. So having the breaks by using like the Pomodoro method that I discussed can really help you to be able to escape that overload and be more productive. So just because you're putting in 10, 12-hour days doesn't mean you're getting more done, because over time, like I said, you get that decreased creativity and you start to be fatigued. How that impacts your work is it starts to take you longer to get things done because you don't have the focus, you don't have the energy, you're not able to problem solve, you're experiencing mental fatigue, so you're not able to be creative and you're not able to problem solve as well as when you are fresh, right? And when you do this yourself, but not only that, push that agenda onto your staff, that can lead to rampant turnover. It can start to impact the morale of your organization and essentially decline the quality of the programming that you are implementing into the community that you serve. So, here's what to do instead. You want to emphasize creating work life balance and prioritizing rest. Encourage your team to take breaks, to take their lunch break away from their desk, to take breaks, a mid morning or mid afternoon break, to take time off, use their vacation time. And you're going to lead by example. So they're going to see you working not ridiculously long hours, but they're going to see you being productive, taking your breaks, taking time off for yourself to go on vacation, doing things that feed you. So, some things that you can do to implement this is to encourage you to delegate and encourage your managers to delegate as well. You want to set boundaries around your work time and communication after hours, as well as really do your part to promote a healthy workplace culture within your organization. Again, you may not say that you expect people to work long hours, or you might even say that you encourage people to take their time off and to have those boundaries. But when you model something different than what you say, we've all experienced it as kids. Our parents would say one thing but do something else, and we would feel, that's hypocritical. So you want to model what that looks like so that you empower your team to show up in that way as well. The third myth is that technology is always the answer. We have so many technological advances that can help to make things easier or to kind of help us to regain time. However, if you overly rely on technology, that can create its own set of problems, right? You can start to experience information overload. You can end up being distracted by technology, and it can also create this false sense of progress because you're like, oh, I'm creating this new thing, or I'm implementing, starting to bring in this new technology to help us do better, right? And if you're constantly doing that, you're not actually getting things done. And this can lead to inefficient processes. You can end up wasting your precious resources and start to disconnect, right? You can start to disconnect from the mission of your organization, that human element of the mission that you have created within your organization. So here's what to do instead: advocate for using technology in a very intentional and strategic way. You want to have clear guidelines for how and when technology is to be used. You want to create this balance between using technology to help you be more productive with also creating that real world interaction. You don't want to remove the human element from your processes and from the work that you do that people can't touch you. It's almost like those where you're trying to call a company and they've got those automated automated messages. Goodness. Where you can't really find the option you want, and there's no option for you to talk to a live person. You keep pressing buttons, and you just can't seem to get to a live person. You really need to talk to someone because you have a unique situation. We don't want to be that in our nonprofits. We don't want to be that in our organizations. So by creating that balance and having those guidelines on when to use technology, that can help you to overcome that potential myth that technology is always the answer. So, real quick recap: myth number one was that multitasking is the key to success. Myth number two is that working long hours is equal to more productivity. And the third one was technology is always the answer. I want to encourage you today to challenge the status quo. I want you to embrace these solutions, these strategies that I shared with you today, so that you can have a new approach in how you are productive. And what kind of experiences have you had with these myths? Share them with me in the comments. Let me know if you had any aha moments as I was sharing about the myths, or if you are, or what you want to try based on the strategies or solutions that I shared. Which of these do you want to implement? Let me know in the comments. I definitely want to hear from you. And I want to invite you to follow me for more valuable content on nonprofit growth and sustainability. This has been today's episode of Balance Bites. And as I always say, take care of yourself and each other. I'll see you next time.